All right, kids, it's getting late.
My wife walked around our living room picking up dinosaurs and dolls.
You can play more tomorrow, but it's time for bed.
Riley and Ripley groaned. The twins ran over to me on the couch and hopped into my lap.
Please, can we stay up, Daddy?
Riley asked me while pouting.
No, you need to listen to your mom.
I squeezed both of them tight.
We're going to the zoo tomorrow, remember? You have to get your rest. And we get a toy.
Ripley recalled the promise I made them.
That's right.
I kissed the pair on the tops of their heads.
So go with Mom and get your jammies on.
The two of them jumped down and raced upstairs with their mom in tow. I found peace in their happiness and let myself soak in the laughter coming from their room. I turned the TV on and started flipping through the channels. A weather alert flashed and the camera cut to our local station. I heard the chime of my phone and I picked it up, ignoring the warning. My wife's silhouette appeared at the landing on the stairs. She let her robe fall to the floor and wore nothing but a desperate expression and lace underneath.
Honey, come to bed. I'll make it worth your while.
Her voice was soft and tinged with a desperate hope. I barely glanced up at her, refusing to leave the conversation on the small screen in front of me.
Claire, I better catch the weather. It might get bad tonight.
The words were distant and carried on a half-truth. The weatherman on the TV was flanked by a radar that showed a nasty thunderstorm heading our way.
Okay,
she said as she picked up the robe and wiped at her eyes. The quiver in her voice betrayed the strong demeanor she usually carried.
Well, the twins are in bed, and your lunch for tomorrow is in the fridge.
Uh-huh, I said.
I love you, Bo. Come to bed soon. Yeah, I will. Just need to watch this storm.
I felt guilt tug at me, but I had gotten real good at ignoring it. I typed up a reply on my phone, then directed my attention to the TV.
Folks, if you're in the Oklahoma City metro area, you got about 30 minutes before this storm is on top of you. Radar indications show that it is weakening, but as this front pushes on through, anything can happen. Stay with News 9. We'll keep you advised.
The weatherman was replaced by a couple of helicopters flying in over a mountain range, and the haunting MASH theme poured out of the TV speakers. I stood up and grabbed my cigarettes. A return to regularly scheduled programming was the universal all clear in Oklahoma during severe weather. I figured I might as well get a smoke in before the rain got here. The thick air greeted me as soon as I got outside. I watched as lightning danced across the sky and began to count.
6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi.
A rolling clap of thunder interrupted my counting. Oh yeah, it's not too far off now. I put a cigarette to my mouth and lit it. My own face stared back at me from our large glass windows. Its features bathed in a fleeting orange glow. I turned away. The eyes of that reflection seemed hollow and unfamiliar. The man I saw in my reflection was a stranger. I didn't like him or the things he did. I moved towards the towering oak tree that stood as a sentinel in our yard. Thunder continued to roll in the distance. I felt like a ghost moving through a graveyard of memories. My hand found the heart etched into the trunk of the tree. Claire and Bo forever. I traced the lines I had carved so many years ago. I sure that up. The cigarette was almost done, and the familiar hankering for whiskey was sneaking up on me. I was about to make a run for my liquor cabinet when my phone rang.
Hello?
I said.
Hey, Mr. Duncan. I just wanted to call and confirm the meeting with Phoenix Oil and Gas in the morning.
The voice of my mistress was like an unattended liquor bottle at an AA meeting. I was an addict, and I needed a fix.
Cut the act, Justine. Claire's already in bed.
Did you get the pictures?
I thumbed through my recent messages and felt all the blood and decision-making ability in my body race to below my waist.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Well, you never answered me earlier. Are we going to meet up or not?
My eyes lingered on the lingerie that I bought for Justine just last week. My voice trembled as I sputtered out a reply.
Yeah. Can you make it to the guest house in 20 minutes?
I'm already on my way, Mr. Duncan. You think a little old storm would slow me down? Bring the red wine I like.
Justine, I told you last time we only have 3 bottles left.
I made the mistake once of telling her they were Claire's favorite. My wife had picked them out while we were in Italy some years ago. I spent a small fortune to bring the 10 vintage bottles home. Once Justine found out they were Claire's, she made it her mission to squeeze every last one out of me. The harlot wasn't content with taking a husband. She wanted everything from my wife, and I didn't know why.
Please.
She pouted.
I got the nail polish on you like.
Okay, I'll bring it. Don't forget to.
I know. Turn my headlights off before I get to the gate.
I'll see you soon then.
Love you, Mr. Duncan.
Don't say that. I told you not. Justine hung up before I could finish. I threw the cigarette butt down and let my head fall to my hands. The rain began to fall along with another clap of thunder. The tears in my eyes stung. I couldn't help but be jealous of the great oak tree beside me. The tree was grounded with strong roots that held to its foundation. The oak knew who it was, and it refused to waver. Wind, rain, fire, or snow, the tree took it all in stride. Me? I was lost. I tried to be unwavering in the commitment to my marriage. I was strong for a while. Justine was fresh out of college and took a job at the energy company I inherited from my father. The advances started slow. A low-cut blouse here and a lingering touch there. She tested the waters to see how I would respond. I was strong in that I didn't reciprocate, but weak for not putting a stop to it. Time passed as it always does, and I thought I had put the matter to rest. Justine became less forward, and the monotony of the day-to-day took hold until one moment last spring. Justine wore sandals that day, and I couldn't help but stare as she kicked them off when she sat down. I was on the phone with a client, stuttering through a drilling report while she playfully tapped her feet under her desk. I think she heard the tremble in my voice and spun around to catch me staring. I turned away, but not before I saw the smirk spread across her face. The next morning, I walked into my office to find her sitting in my chair with her bare feet perched on top of my desk. The rest is history. I grabbed at my chest as the rain picked up. The pain of heartbreak was real, but worse when you could stop it and just refuse to. I jogged back towards the house, dodging the puddles forming in the yard. The wind picked up as I reached our garage door. I turned the handle and stepped into safety. The garage was quiet as I moved through the vehicles in search of the light switch. After I flipped it on, I went to the large vault door that served as our panic room and safe. I typed a code into the digital number pad. My efforts were met with 3 shrill beeps and a flash of red light. "What the hell?" I said out loud. I put the code in again, 772015. The beeps were louder this time and the light flashed twice. The twins were born on July 7th, 2015. That's the code. I struck the cold vault door with my fist. Justine wanted the wine, and if she didn't get what she wanted, then neither did I. I located the service number on the side of the vault and punched it into my phone. The line rang twice before a man answered.
Good evening, Safe and Sound Home Security. This is Mark speaking. How may I assist you?
I'm locked out of my vault. I think the storm's messing with it. Can you unlock it from there?
I understand your frustration, sir. For security reasons, we don't have remote access. I see here there were 2 failed attempts to unlock it. Let's try resetting your code. Can I verify your identity first?
I rolled my eyes as he spoke. Sure, just hurry it up.
Thank you for your patience. I'm sending a code to your phone now.
976234. I read off the code as soon as it arrived.
Thank you so much. Now I need you to open the Safe and Sound app. Can you verify the security questions there, please?
I sighed and leaned against the hood of my truck as I typed out the answers. Mother's maiden name and all that. All right, done.
Awesome. Now you should see a digital pad on your app. Go ahead and type the new code in there.
I hit the 9 key repeatedly until the code was confirmed.
Okay, you should be set, Mr. Duncan.
Mark told me.
Please don't forget to inform everyone in the household who might need access that the code has been updated.
Don't need your advice, buddy, but thanks. I hung up the phone and went back to the vault. With the updated code, I was able to pull the heavy door open. A set of concrete steps and stale air were waiting for me on the other side. I began my descent with Justine on my mind. I walked past the shelves lined with canned goods and water and went straight to the wine rack. I blew the dust off the label and looked at it under the buzzing fluorescent lights. The Italian translated to Light of the Vine Estate. It was a red wine from the Montalcino Reserve bottled in 1931 on the banks of the Arno River in Tuscany. At least, that's what the old man told Claire and I when he sold it to us. Light of the vine for the light of my life, I told Claire when we packed the bottles into her suitcase. There is nothing I wouldn't do for you. My stomach turned as the memory came back to me. I hated myself for the way in which I had betrayed her. I gripped the neck of the bottle as if it were my own and headed back up the stairs, shutting the vault door behind me. The locks clicked with a loud, haunting echo. The wind was growing louder outside. I slid into the driver's seat of my truck, and the cold leather sent a shiver up my spine. My fingers blindly groped the dark recesses of the glove box. I shuffled through forgotten receipts and old mail until the rubber grip of my revolver met my hands. I kept the gun at the back, and it wasn't what I was looking for. I sighed and pulled my hand out. The dimly lit cabin didn't offer many hints, and I could feel my frustration mounting. I looked up to the heavens as if an answer would fall to earth, and to my surprise it did. There, clipped securely to my visor above my head, was the garage door opener. A sticky note from Claire clung to it.
I know things are rough, but we'll make it through this. I love you, Beau.
I hit the button on the remote and the garage door groaned to life. I crumpled the note and tossed it as I put the truck in reverse and backed out. The guest house was only a half-mile from our main home on a small gravel road. But between the wind and the rain, it took me some time to make the trip. When I pulled up to the driveway, Justine's car was already there. I stepped out into the storm, dodging hail as it started to fall. The wind and rain carried me to the porch where Justine was waiting on me.
It's kind of funny, ain't it?
She asked. What's funny?
Men,
She adjusted her hair while looking at her reflection in a window.
you're just so easy sometimes.
What exactly are you getting at? The hail beat at the metal roof of the porch with heavy thuds.
Look at you, Mr. Duncan. You're in the middle of a storm. You drug yourself out here away from your family and brought me that bottle of wine. And for what?
I fumbled with the keys at the door. Don't start with me.
You did it all for this little body of mine. We both know it.
Justine smiled and twirled her finger around her hair.
But me? I do it for the control. I've only ever wanted what other people have. Always been that way.
I'm sure that's why your sister loves you so much, I told her as we went into the house. She took the bottle from me and fell onto the couch laughing.
If her fiancé cheated with me, he would have cheated with anyone.
Justine popped the cork and took a big drink of narcissism.
I saved her the trouble.
You know, the less you talk, the better. I lay down on the couch next to my addiction and slid into the familiar embrace of ecstasy and regret. I was a slave to my own flesh. Justine didn't enjoy my company, and I didn't enjoy hers. Yet we found ourselves in this dance of control and desire. The rain battered the windows, its fury mirroring the tempestuous turmoil I felt inside my soul. Justine's hand began to caress mine. I leaned in to kiss her when a flash of lightning struck. For a brief moment, Claire's face was in front of me, washed in a fear I had never seen before. I pulled away, then a terrible noise rang out from my phone. I picked it up and read the words every Oklahoman fears. Tornado warning. Take cover now. I jumped up from the couch, causing Justine to tumble down to the floor.
What the f***?
She said as she stood up. I have to go. Get in the cellar right now.
It'll be fine. It's probably not even by us.
Justine, I'm not arguing with you, I said as I pulled my boots on. Get your sorry ass in that cellar if you want to stay breathing.
Don't talk to me like that.
She followed me out to the porch.
Where are you going?
Where in the f*** do you think I'm going? I jumped into my truck and pointed to the cellar just beside the house. The wind shook the trees around us and baseball-sized hail pelted the ground. In there, now! I didn't wait for any more arguments as I threw the truck into gear and sped towards my home. I hit the power button on the radio and my heart pounded in my chest.
The National Weather Service in Norman has issued a tornado warning for Oklahoma County, Cleveland County, and Lincoln County until 12:45 a.m.
I gripped the steering wheel with white knuckles as the electronic voice went on.
At 12 a.m., National Weather Service Doppler radar indicates a tornado 2 miles north of Nichols Hills.
My wipers worked with a Herculean effort to keep the rain off my windshield until a piece of hail crashed into the window. The windshield shattered, and I was left flying blind against the rain.
Doppler radar shows this tornado moving northeast at 65 miles per hour.
I slammed my fist against the roof of my truck.
Locations in the warning include Chisholm Creek, Edmond, Guthrie, and the John Kilpatrick Turnpike.
I screamed.
It's right on us!
In that moment, I saw the towering behemoth illuminated from the back by power flashes and lightning strikes. The power of nature incarnate was a deep purple and moved across the land, destroying everything in its path. I felt my truck begin to rattle and shake as it was pushed around by the storm. Sirens began to sound all around me, the final warning for all the sitting ducks caught in the path just like me. I bore down on the accelerator, praying to a God I had ignored for most of my adult life.
This can't be happening!
I said between sobs.
Lord, I know I'm a father and worse husband, but let them be okay. Please, send me to hell where I belong, but don't take them.
Another power flash sprang up just outside my window, and dirt and debris shot into the cab of the truck. All the windows exploded, unable to bear the immense pressure of the tornado. I ducked, but shards of glass and wood pierced my skin like 1,000 burning knives. The truck spun out of control, and I felt myself tumbling end over end. I tried to make sense of the world as I spun through the air. The truck came to a stop with a crash, and I found myself hanging upside down, looking at my home through busted headlights.
Claire! I'm here!
I called out as I struggled to free myself from the seat. I was only about 200 yards from the house.
Just hold on! Dad's here!
I kicked the windshield out and scrambled to my feet. With blood and twigs covering me, I began a frenzied sprint towards my family. Every step was painful, every breath was heavy with desperation. I felt like I was running through a battlefield with hail raining down like cannon fire from the heavens. The wind bit at me from all directions, cutting me with the shrapnel of everyday life. I was bloodied and beaten, but every step brought me just a bit closer to home. A power flash lit up the world, and the scene before me knocked me to my knees. The tornado was at my doorstep, wrestling with the giant oak tree that stood in our yard. The sentinel fought back against the wind with its thick branches. The oak stood firm, refusing to let the storm move another inch closer, and the two seemed to be in a deadlock. I felt a cold breeze drift across my cheek. The cool air surged the tornado forward, and it folded the oak in half with the creaks and moans of a dying man. The branches of the tree snapped and splintered as the oak struck the house. An explosion of glass and wood filled the halls, as if they were carried forward on the waters of a great flood. The wind howled louder than it had all night. The storm celebrated its victory and continued to march forward, pulling the roof off my home.
No!
I ran towards the massacre.
Please, God, no!
The muddied ground slowed my footsteps as I raced to find the answer to a question no man should ever have to ask. The sirens continued in the distance, and the wind pushed back hard against me. It seemed to scream with laughter ahead of me, where I could hear the tornado tearing into more homes. I saw a shadow looming in my periphery that seemed to get bigger. I turned to see what it was, and heard a fleshy crunch as the branch hit me in the face. Pain erupted from the point of impact, and my vision blurred. I could hear a woman screaming as I hit the ground just outside the house.
Riley! Ripley!
I reached toward the door hanging from its hinges, and then everything went black. I woke up in a pool of blood, coated along the edges with mud. I couldn't see out of my left eye and went to rub it. My hand touched what felt like a ruptured grape hanging on the end of a bloody vine. I shuddered and tried to stand. The world around me was eerily quiet. Far off in the distance, I could make out what looked like the lights of emergency vehicles. I groaned in pain and forced my body to get up off the ground.
Is anyone there?
I called out as I fell into the rubble that was once my home. I moved to the garage where the safe house was, while trying my best to avoid arcing electrical lines and glass.
Are you all okay? Please answer me, babies.
I ran into a large nail sticking out of a wall and whimpered as the metal tore deep into my flesh. Half of the garage had fallen in, and I could see the sky plainly above me. I reached the vault and began to dig into the pile of wet sheetrock and scattered lumber that was stacked against the door. The debris cut my bare hands, but it did not slow me down. I uncovered the keypad and felt a bile rise in my throat. I turned away from the door, and a soup of shame and remorse left my body through my mouth. Bloody fingerprints covered the number pad, but the 9 had no indication it had ever been touched. Did I really just lose my family over a bottle of wine and an office whore? I fell to the ground and screamed, cursing the God I prayed to just minutes earlier. I laid there for a while, wallowing in self-hatred, tears, and vomit. I stopped and stood up when I thought of the advice the weatherman would dish out as a last resort. If you can't get to a shelter, then go to the centermost part of your home on the lowest level. We had a bathroom just down the hall that fit the description. I allowed a small sliver of hope to fill my chest. The memories of the life I built with Claire and my kids were scattered all over the house. Our wedding pictures laid strewn about the wet floor, covered in insulation. I tripped over my children's toys and longed for the day when they would be able to play with them again. Warm tears fell down my face as I was confronted with the reality of my affair. I was the one that treated all of this stuff like garbage. The storm was a mirror that I couldn't look away from. The remains of the oak stood in between me and my goal. The heart I carved into the tree so many years ago was now judging me in the aftermath of disaster.
I get it. I f***ed up.
I lashed out at my broken promise.
Claire, can you hear me? Riley? Ripley?
I found my way through the branches, doing my best to ignore the gentle thuds of what remained of my eye as it bounced across my cheek. The limbs were a maze, and the tough bark left deep scratches all over my skin. I reached the bathroom and did my best to see inside with the occasional flicker from a sparking power line.
Kids? Claire? Are you there?
I stepped further inside, ducking underneath the branches. Sparks fell like a gentle rain over the mattress that covered Claire's body. She hung halfway out of the bathtub where she and the twins had tried to take cover. The tree had fallen directly on top of them. I couldn't see both of my children, but I knew they were under the foam and springs.
No! No! No!
I collapsed under the guilt of what I had done.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I reached up and yanked the gelatinous mess that was my eye and severed the optic nerve. The pain coursed through my body and burned with a white-hot intensity, but all I felt was relief. I screamed and I wept.
I can't do this. I can't.
I stood up with a resolute confidence I hadn't seen in myself in years.
I won't do this.
I began the crawl back to my truck, doing my best to keep the images of what I had just seen at bay. I made no attempt to avoid injury as I stumbled out of the house. I stepped on a nail and welcomed the searing iron as it pierced my foot.
You're almost there,
I said through gritted teeth.
Come on, Bo.
I limped away from the rubble towards my overturned truck. I beat on the bumper until my fists were bloody.
Stupid piece of shit. You're nothing but a stupid piece of shit.
I fought with the jammed handle and twisted metal of the door until it swung open. My focus shifted to the glove box where my ticket out of the nightmare was. I reached inside and hit the release. A .357 revolver fell inside the cab, followed by a waterfall of meaningless paper. I fished it out of the broken glass and stood up. I could hear footsteps running towards me from behind. That Justine.
I want you to know this is all your fault. Don't you ever forget that.
I placed the barrel firm against my head. I turned to face the skank. Let her reap what she sowed. In the small moment between the flash and my life ending, I realized no hell was punishment enough for what I had done. It wasn't Justine running towards me, but my little girl Riley. Cut up and bruised, carried by the wind to God knows where she was racing towards the safety of her father.
Daddy, no!
The cries of my daughter were the last thing I ever heard. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and smash that like button to get notified every time I upload a new video. You can also check out some more of my animated horror stories right here.